Hello everyone, welcome to your practice today. You might notice that I'm standing, whereas I'm normally seated. That's because our practice is going to be very, very hip focused. And if you think that you require anything else to move the upper body beforehand, feel free to look at one of my other classes on the platform. In terms of things required for your practice today, you might use a block if that's something that you normally use to support you. And I would suggest that your mat have the long edge facing towards your phone, your laptop, whatever it is that you are viewing me on today, because we'll be finding a wide leg forward fold multiple times throughout the practice. When we're ready, we'll start to take our feet nice and wide, knowing that this definition of wide might vary very differently from the first wide leg forward fold we come into in our practice compared to the last. In terms of situation of the feet, we'll try and turn the toes towards that long edge of the mat or slightly in, thinking of pressing down through the outside edges of the feet. And I'd like us to take our karate chop hands, find the hip creases and think hinge, 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 hinge at the hips, allowing the tailbone to stay lifted, finding a halfway lift or flat back. So this is quite a nice opportunity to place the hands on a block if perhaps they don't reach towards the ground. Alternatively, we can use the sides of the legs here. So this is our halfway lift, flat back position. Inhaling to reach through the crown of the head and back through the tailbone. And exhaling to soften any places where we might feel some added tension. Inhaling for length. And exhaling will allow ourselves to fold on down, releasing the weight of the head. Again, hands may or may not grace the floor or a block. Taking a deep inhale here, and as we exhale, really allowing the head to hang down heavy. Noticing if we're arching the neck to look forward, and instead think of looking in between the legs. Our next inhale, we'll find that halfway lift, flat back, and we'll pivot all the toes towards the right, a bend in the right knee and allowing the left knee to come down towards the ground. So here we're finding a low lunge, initially either with the hands planted, you'll notice my hands are on fingertips, or maybe the hands resting on the thigh. So perhaps a slightly deeper expression than if the arms were lifted towards the side. It's okay if the knee comes past the ankle while we're here for a couple rounds of breath. I like to find and explore what my range is currently, where I might feel any niggles in the hips before we start our practice. By coming in and out. Maybe notice also your preference for the back foot. If you curl the toes under or you flat on the top of the foot, either is A-okay. On our next inhale, we're going to draw ourselves slightly out so we can bring the tailbone down, hug the lower belly up and in, and bring the arms up towards the sky. So hopefully here finding a little bit more sensation across the front of that left hip. You might think of poking, if you've been in one of my classes before, good old glute poke, poking the glute to engage it, to drive that left hip forward as we draw that right heel back. As Yoga with Adrian would say, holding a big beach ball overhead so we can find broadness across the fronts and the backs of the shoulders. And on our next exhale, you're thinking bum back towards the back heel as we hinge from that right hip crease and fold over the right leg as it extends. Half split. Now when you're half split, by all means, the front leg can be bent. Hands don't have to touch the ground. They can touch a prop or any part of the body that helps support this shape. Again, thinking of drawing that right heel back towards the body just to square off through the hips. Once more, thinking of that tailbone starting to peek his little head out rather than curling under to find a bit more sensation in the hamstring. When we're ready, shifting ourselves back forward to that low lunge with the hands planted or grazing the earth. We'll curl the back toes under, lift the back knee, and pivot all the toes towards the long edge of the mat to release and fold into our wide-legged forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift or flat back, and exhale to fold. Inhale, halfway lift or flat back. And when we're ready, we'll turn all toes now towards the left-hand side of the mat. Bend into the left knee, right knee plants down towards the ground. Feeling your way into the low lunge here. Again, maybe hands or fingertips towards the earth or palms on that left thigh. You might find that bit of dynamic movement working into the hips, seeing what our body's starting point is today. And on our next inhale, we're going to slightly come out of the depth of our lunge. Take the arms up to the sky, holding our big beach ball. Maybe a squeeze or a poke of that right glute as we try and square off through the hips and find length along the front of the right hip. You're trying to expand and lengthen the space from the right knee all the way up the front of the thigh, the front of the hip, the front of the rib cage, up towards the fingertips. On our next exhale, bum towards the back heel as we hinge through that left hip and fold over the extending left leg, half split. Shifting ourselves back forward to the low lunge, hands planted or grazing the earth. Curl the back toes under, lift the back knee, and pivot all the toes back to our trusted wide leg forward fold, releasing the weight of the head down. An inhale for a halfway lift or flat back, and an exhale to fold. Inhale, halfway lift, pivot all the toes towards the right. This time, taking our next inhale to come straight into the low lunge with the arms up towards the sky. This pose is also known as Anjayasana in Sanskrit. Using an exhale, we'll find that half split. Shifting ourselves forward to the low lunge to curl the back toes under, lift the back knee, pivot all the toes to the long edge of the mat. Exhale and fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, release. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back, pivot towards the left. You know where you're going. Inhaling up to Anjayasana, low lunge with the arms up towards the sky. Exhale, half split. Shifting ourselves forward to curl the back toes under, lift the back knee, pivoting to the long edge of the mat. Release into your wide leg forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift, flat back. And exhale to fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back, pivoting all toes towards the right. Find an inhale to reach up to our Anjayasana. Here's something slightly different. Right hand comes inside the right leg. We'll take another inhale to really reach up through those left fingertips, as if you're finding that length again from the left knee towards the left fingers. On an exhale, we'll start to lean or reach over towards the right hand side, finding a side body stretch here. Perhaps feeling more sensation in that hip flexor. Back up through center, we'll hinge and fold, finding a half split over that extending right leg. And another little place to explore this time in our half split, we're going to think of taking the outside edge of our foot towards the ground and then taking the inside edge of our foot, so the inside arch of that right foot, towards the ground as well. But where the movement is coming from or stemming from is in the hip. So it might be to think about actually moving the femur in the hip socket, that we take our hand to our thigh and feel this rolling sensation. First of the inside of the thigh rolling up more towards the sky. And then moving in the other direction, the outside of the thigh acting as if it wants to shine up towards the sky. Now for everyone, this will be completely different. I have a lot of range in one way and then little to no movement in the other. It's just interesting to find out a little bit more about yourself. And when we're ready, we'll come back forward, curl the back toes under, lift the back knee, pivot all the toes to the long edge of the mat, release and fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. And turn towards the left, right knee down behind. Inhale the arms up to the sky, Anjayasana. Here for the change, we have our left hand inside the left thigh, the left leg. Inhale and reach those right fingertips towards the sky, and exhale, then take them to reach over towards the left. Breathing here into that space along the front of the right hip, into the side of the rib cage on the right hand side. Using an exhale, we'll hinge and fold, finding our half split on the left side. And finding that movement within the hip socket. You may take the hand to the thigh, but you're imagining as if you're trying to roll the inside of the thigh towards the sky. This might look like the outside of that left foot coming towards the ground. And then moving in the other direction, so thinking of rolling the outside edge of the left thigh towards the sky and the inside of the left foot coming towards the ground. But making sure that movement is coming from the hip, not just the foot, the ankle. Shifting ourselves back forward, we'll curl the back toes under, lift the back knee, and pivot round, releasing into our wide leg forward fold. Inhaling halfway, lift flat back. And exhale to fold. Inhaling halfway, lift flat back, pivot towards the right, up into our Anjayasana. Right hand inside the right leg, reach those left fingertips up and over. An option here to take the head in the left hand. So the left hand is kind of holding a ponytail, or where a ponytail would be. And then I like to say you're basking in all of your glory as you lean the head back into the hand, opening the elbow out to the side. Perhaps not only feeling what would have been a side stretch to start, but now this stretch along the front left-hand side of the rib cage. Playing with your balance here, perhaps. Bringing ourselves back up and allowing ourselves to then fold over that extended leg, finding our half split. And you might take the left fingertips down to the floor or a block and inhale, peel those right fingertips up towards the sky, finding a twist here. Keep thinking of drawing that right hip back, so the hips stay in line. Maybe feeling this not only on the hamstring, but the outside of the leg, the IT band. Allowing both hands to graze the earth as you shift back forward, curl the back toes under, lift the back knee, pivot all toes to long edge, release into your wide leg forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift or flat back. Exhale to fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back, pivot towards the left. Using a breath in to come into Anjayasana, then placing the left hand inside the left leg, right fingertips reach up and over. Maybe the right hand comes behind the head and we bask again. We can think maybe that we're sunbathing on a lovely beach holiday. Deep breath in. Maybe a sigh out. Drawing yourself more up towards center so that we can extend through the left leg, fold over, half split, right fingertips to the ground or a block. We might inhale those left fingertips up towards the sky. Peel and twist, driving that left hip back, imagining as if we're drawing the left heel towards us. Hands both grace the earth as we shift back forwards, curl the back toes under, lift the back knee, pivot all toes to the long edge of the mat. Exhale and fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. And exhale, fold once more. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. We'll pivot all the toes towards the right. Asana. Finding our half split. And then shifting ourselves back forward into that low lunge. We're going to take both hands inside the front foot. And we'll find a kickstand with that back left foot. So my left foot, I'm going to kick more over towards the right so that the hips begin to face the long edge of the mat. Maybe we then take the hands or the right forearm towards the right thigh and find this movement similar to our first low lunge where we moved in and out. See what's there for you today. If you do this practice more than once, you might find that different things show up. And as always, it's interesting to ask the question, why? When we're ready, we'll find stillness. Once more, that right forearm can grace the top of the right thigh. We might inhale to peel the left fingertips up towards the sky, or alternatively, we might allow them to fly past that left ear, reaching over towards the right. So this is a modified extended side angle. Releasing, both hands come down inside the front foot just so we can pivot the back foot and the body back towards the right. We'll curl the back toes under, lift the back knee, pivot the toes towards the long edge of the mat, release into our wide leg forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Pivoting towards the left, right knee down behind, Asana. Half split. Shifting ourselves back forward, this time placing both hands inside that front foot. We can always scoot it a little bit over to the side so we have more space. A kickstand with the right foot over towards the left so that we're turning our hips more towards that long edge. You might keep the hands inside the leg, or instead you might take the left forearm towards the left thigh. Find this pulling in and out, drawing back and forth. What's showing up on this side that did or didn't show up on the other? And then finding a moment of stillness here in our modified extended side angle. Perhaps the left forearm comes towards the thigh. We might inhale the right fingertips towards the sky, or we might inhale and reach them past the ear out towards the left. Releasing the hands down towards the ground so we can readjust the back foot to its starting position in that low lunge with the hands gracing the earth. Curl the back toes under, lift the back knee. Find our wide leg forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale to fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Pivot all the toes towards the right. Left knee down, up into our Asana. Listen for the change here. The hands are going to come out in front of you, and you're going to imagine as if you're peeling back a bow and arrow. So the right hand's going to draw that bow and arrow back, and then we're going to keep peeling, 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 reaching eventually those right fingertips back behind us, the torso, the face, twisting towards the right. This is our modified archer's lunge. We might stay here, or we might have a little explore with those right fingertips reaching as if they could tap, they could touch the left heel. And maybe reaching then those left fingertips up towards the sky. You might reach to the space behind you, really open up across the front body. Or you might reach to the space above you. Doesn't matter if the back hand comes in contact with the earth or not. If anything, it'll be more of a core challenge if it doesn't. Using an exhale to draw ourselves back up to that modified archers. Turn ourselves back towards the start. Both hands down inside the front leg. We'll find that kickstand of the back foot. And make our way into extended side angle. Still the option to have the forearm on the thigh. Or alternatively, we might keep the arm, the right arm inside the right leg. Pull that bow and arrow back with the left fingertips this time. Peel and twist open towards the left. When we're ready, releasing both hands down, allowing ourselves to draw the hips back towards the short edge of the mat, finding that low lunge, hands gracing the earth. Curl the back toes under, lift the back knee, pivot all the toes to face the long edge of the mat, wide leg forward fold. Inhaling halfway, lift flat back. Exhaling to fold. Inhaling halfway, lift flat back. Pivoting all the toes towards the left. Inhale, Anjayasana. Here comes the change again, where we're going to draw our hands out in front. Find that bow and arrow again. Peel it back with the left hand. So eventually we're peeling and twisting over towards the left. Left fingertips behind. Right fingertips reaching forward like a tug of war, with going forward and back until you find yourself firmly rooted in the middle. Maybe we stay here, maybe we find that leaning back, so we're reaching down and reaching up, again finding that space of equilibrium in the place where we will end up holding. Using an exhale, draw yourselves back to that modified archer's lunge. Hands can come back forward to the start as we take both of them then inside the front left leg. Kickstand our back foot more towards the left, and we'll find a peel and twist open to our extended side angle. So we can have our left fingertips or hand to the ground, or a block somewhere with the arm inside the leg if we don't wish to be forearm to thigh. Drawing that bow and arrow back with that right hand, we peel and open towards the right, our extended side angle. Hold here for a breath or two. Before we release both hands down towards the ground, allow ourselves to reorientate the back foot to its starting position. Curl the back toes under, lift the back knee, pivot all the toes to the long edge of the mat, wide-legged forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale to fold. And we'll linger here for a moment in our wide leg forward fold. Maybe to notice how far we've come from the first one of the practice. Can we turn the toes in ever so slightly more? Can we really press down into the outside edges of the feet and the heel? Find strength in the legs. We'll inhale to find that halfway lift or flat back, and maybe an opportunity here to see if we can take the hands to heart center or reach them out in front of us. Finding a moment of added strength. Hands release down towards the ground. We pivot towards the right. Option here to not have the back knee planted. So to keep the back left knee lifted. Inhaling to find a high lunge. Here in our high lunge, think of bending into that front knee, but also pressing down into the big toe ball joint of that back foot, lifting up with the heel to really drive the left hip forward, square the hips off. You might think here, you can always have a bend in that back knee, of tucking the tailbone and lifting your lower belly up towards you. When we're ready, arms out in front, draw back that bow and arrow, finding our archer's lunge towards the right. So right fingertips reach back, left fingertips reach forward. And a bend in the knee might help us here. Sinking slightly deeper into the pose and twisting more towards the right. Maybe finding that lean back. The right fingertips might chase the left thigh. The left fingertips might reach up or find some exploration of the space behind. Still find depth in that front knee. Bringing ourselves back through center, pivot on the back toes. Keep the right toes facing towards the short edge. Bend into the front knee. Peel the arms out at shoulder height. Finding warrior two pose. Here, similar to our wide leg forward fold, you're thinking of turning the back toes slightly in, pressing into the outside edge of the front foot, but you're also pressing into the front heel. So finding that stability again in center. You have more depth in that front knee bend than you believe you have. So allow yourself to inhale in and exhale to come down. Extended side angle is the next place to go. Maybe right forearm towards right thigh, fingertips up or out towards the side. Always the option to take the hand inside the leg. Maybe the hand touches the ground instead. An option here to just for a couple rounds of breath, reach both arms out towards the side and imagine as if you're trying to keep spiraling your heart up towards the sky. Keep a bend in the front knee. You're here for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2. And 1, straighten through the front leg, release the hands down, pivot all toes to the long edge of the mat, hinge and release into our wide leg forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale to fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back, pivot the toes towards the left. This time maybe keeping the right knee off the ground. We'll inhale up to our high lunge. Finding that connection, again, and that strength through the back leg. You can always have a bend in the knee, lifting up through the heel, driving that hip forward. Bending into our lunge, tuck of the tailbone, lower belly up towards the face. Preparing for archers. Hands out in front, draw back that bow and arrow with the left hand. Left fingertips reach behind as we twist and turn, looking out towards the left. Imagine like you're reaching backwards and forward in equal measure. Strong and firmly rooted in this place in center. Maybe we allow the left fingertips to reach as if they're trying to caress the right thigh. And the right fingertips might reach up or explore the space behind. Keep a bend in the front knee. Draw yourselves back up through archers. Arms back out to center, pivot on the back toes. Open the hands up and the arms up at shoulder height. Warrior two on the other side. Once more, find that space that you can embody, that you can explore into. We've created a lot of space and worked well into our hips in this sequence. So you'll be able to find some room that perhaps you didn't know existed. Perhaps looking past that front middle finger. Extended side angle option, left forearm to thigh. Maybe reaching right fingertips out to the side or up to the sky. Other option is to have the left hand or fingertips to the ground and peel yourself open. Here's the chance to reach both hands out to the side, finding that real strength through the core as well as through our foundations. For 5. For 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Lifting up and out, straightening the front leg, turning all toes to the long edge of the mat. This time finding our halfway lift first. Hands may come to the ground or the sides of the leg. From this halfway lift, we're going to heel toe our feet in. Probably the distance of your short edge of your mat, so we can sit on down into our version of a squat. Now, by all means, you can do goddess here, or it's okay if those heels lift off the ground. We've done a lot of folding or hinging from the hips in various postures. So in terms of foldability, again, you might find a little bit more space. There's an option to be open through the heart here, drawing the thumbs towards the breastbone if the hands are pressing together. Or alternatively, we can come down inside the legs. Sometimes for me, that takes a little adjust of the width of the feet. Kind of round down. We'll bring our bum down towards the earth. Sometimes fun to try without using the hands and see where we end up. Just to do a little bit for our internal rotation. So finding a little bit of work into the hips in a different manner. So find a kind of like 90-90 shape with the legs. Doesn't matter if the knees touch the floor. And we're going to think of slightly starting to roll that back hip forward. Now roll, roll, roll. You might feel a sensation there already that's different to what we've experienced in this class. That back foot, you might see if without shifting the upper body too much, can we start to lift it off the floor? Whether it be a whisper thin bit of paper that you're trying to slide underneath, or something with a little bit more like meat to it. Maybe lifting up there again, seeing what sensation arises within the hip joint. And releasing down. Now we are going to swap to come to the other side. There is a fun way of doing it. I've not got a lot of space behind me, but I can start the movement and then I'll shimmy so I'm still facing towards you. We can again, with trying to stay the torso forward, lift up that back knee as much as possible. Lift, 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 lift. And use that momentum to turn towards the side in this kind of like bear sit posture. Quite nice here to grab the ankles or the shins, reach the heart forward. And then we're going to move ourselves to the other side, so allowing the knees to come down and our gaze to turn towards the left. So you're going to end up with the opposite leg in front. This might be, again, a completely different setup from one side to the other. I always bang on about how my left hip is completely different to my right. When we're ready, maybe again thinking of that kind of roll of the right hip forward. And then lifting up the back foot. Here, I need a little bit more to hold on to find that space. Release. Lift up the back knee, pivot to find that bear sit facing the other direction, and then we'll allow ourselves to come down to lay on the earth. A couple of options here. We might find constructive rest, the feet nice and wide, the knees in towards one another. Or alternatively, if we do have a block or a cushion nearby, we can place it underneath our sacrum to find, with our legs extended, this lovely front of the hip stretch. Anything, perhaps I should have brought a block. Bear with me for 2 seconds while I just grab a cushion. So placing it underneath the sacrum to find a little bit of lift and extending the legs long. Doesn't matter if there's a bend in the knees still or what the feet are doing. Alternatively, if saddle or hero's pose is in your practice, that might be more appropriate for you to finish your practice today. And I encourage you to stay here as long as you wish. Take as much time as you need to seal your practice today. As always, thank you so much for practicing with me. Have a lovely rest of your day. Namaste.